This song chose me. I didn't choose it. How you doing? My name's Avi Dell. I'm a singer-songwriter, and this is a long-form story explanation of my song Surrender and what it means to me and what the writing process was like and where it came from. I'm going to start by just playing a little bit of it.
They were the last ones to surrender. Now they're the first we will remember as the camp burns low.
At this point, if you're watching this channel, then you've probably heard my story about how I had given up music for about 7 years and then got COVID and was isolating and had a friend's guitar with me and started writing again. Well, this was the song that I started writing again. This was it. This was the first song that happened to me. I can't stress this enough. I had not played guitar in probably 5 years, and I was messing around, and I just put the capo here on 2nd fret. I got it tuned in open tuning. It sounds nice. You don't really have to know how to play. I couldn't even remember like chords. I really was out of the loop, and I just started doing this. That was it. And the first thing that came out of my mind was surrender. That word just like, you're the last ones to surrender. Felt meaningful. And the word surrender was a word I had never used in a song before, and I really enjoyed that. It's a strong, it's a powerful word. And I just felt like there's something about that. And I started thinking like, who's surrendering? What's the surrender? What's that all about? And at first the idea was, oh, it's about a fight. There's an instance, it's a relationship song, and it's about give and take and the pull of when you're in a dispute with someone, you have to relinquish your control. You have to surrender your position in order to understand the other person's position. That was where I thought the song was and what it was going to be around and about. And I just was like, oh, what can lyrics be? And it felt angry, like this. You're the last one to surrender. I think there's no denying that's an intense. I'm blowing a lot of air to hit those notes, to curl around those syllables. My sister always likes to say, I love to scrape the bottom of the pot. And that's kind of it. You're the last one to surrender. The song could have started with, you're the last one to surrender. It could have been so much prettier, but I didn't want that. And I wanted that anger and that energy to inform what the lyrics would be, if that makes sense. If I gave it up, if I performed it more softly, then I would lose the edge of what I thought, that's the aggression of what I wanted to portray in the story. And as I'm messing around with it, I'm playing with different ideas, different things, and I have some videos of that, evidence of working through the different versions that I'll be sharing through my email list. So if you want to sign up, avidell.com. I was messing around with it, and the next line that came out of me was, it was just surrender. What rhymes with surrender? Splendor, remember, pretender, delegitimizing the perspective of the other person while you're also... There was all this Machiavellian ideas that I was playing with that could be a song. And then just by accident, the next line came out was, now they're the first we will remember. I thought, what does that mean? You're the last one to surrender, and now you're the first we will remember. You're the last one. They were the last ones to surrender, and now they're the first we will remember. And like a lightning bolt, it hit me. This song is about fallen soldiers. This song is about service people, men and women, who give the ultimate sacrifice so that we can do what we do, so that I can sit here in my apartment in Brooklyn and play guitar. That's what this song is a tribute to. Holy smokes. And I had no intention of thinking about that or wanting that or feeling like I had any position or authority to write on such a topic. Now they're the first we will remember as the candle burns low, so low. The candle burns low. I didn't have an idea. To the people that want to understand songwriting and my songwriting process, I didn't sit down at the table and think, I'm going to write a song about fallen soldiers and give it a form and a shape around this image, a single candle melting as we stand around. That was not my idea. I can't express to you more. It came to me. It said to me as the candle burns out. And so I just, this is a song about fallen soldiers. I'm going to write a song that is not at all about me. It's not at all about something superficial relationship. This is not a relationship song. This is a song honoring and remembering people who have given the ultimate sacrifice. And that was when I threw away the whole idea of structural constructs of how you write a song. You've got the opening verse, which acts as an introduction, to then some form of a pre-chorus, to then a chorus that opens up, and then you go back, you repeat, and then there's a bridge that takes you out of the world and then puts you back into the world with a bigger chorus. That is songwriting 101. And I just was like, oh no, this song is not for me at all. It's for a community of people who need an outlet, who need a voice, who need some sort of harmonic expression of what they're feeling in the search for their own understanding of what has occurred within their family, within their life, in the loss of a loved one through the service of our nation. That's what this was about. And I got really scared. I was like, I don't want to write this song. I'm not authority on this. I have no jurisdiction in this space. But I was a soldier in the infantry. And so I had a particular set of experiences, and I have lost friends. And I would never say that this song is about them or those people, but I have to believe that what I wrote was informed by that experience. Here I am trying to provide justification, and I don't think I need justification for it. This song chose me. I didn't choose it. And then it was like, okay, if I'm gonna write this song, what's it gonna be about? At the time, the wars in Afghanistan was still going on. War is a really divisive topic. I didn't want to write a song about any war that had occurred in my lifetime. So I thought about Vietnam, and I just didn't feel like I could give voice to that. My mother, my parents, or the Vietnam generation, I didn't feel like authentic enough to speak for them. Maybe I will someday. That would be an interesting thing to tackle someday, but I didn't feel like I could take on the shoes. And there's also great literature. There's great songs. There's Born in the USA, Springsteen, Billy Joel. There's a whole canon of really great songs in that era. So I felt like, no, that's too hot a heat for me to touch. So I went back further. Well, what about World War II? World War II for me gets really murky in the Holocaust story, the story of the Jewish people. And it's hard to think about that as just a war. And something else happened there during that time. Something else that was brewing in our society occurred in World War II. And so I didn't want to write a song about that. I started doing research on World War I. And I read a poem about this soldier who it was a short story about a soldier who had written a letter home to his family about what an adventure he was on as a soldier. And dramatically, he mentions it could be his last summer, but if it is, it will be and privilege for him to give his life for the honor of serving his nation. And I just thought, like, man, that is so naive. Like, the naivety of being young and a soldier and believing that their sacrifice of their life, figure out how to kind of give voice to that, how to make sense of that feeling. Because that is in many ways why I signed up, why I enlisted in the military after 9/11, and I believed that we had an obligation to be able to defend ourselves. I was doing more research, and I read this poem about German soldiers in World War I. These guys were in trenches, and there was this piece about how, like, towards the end of the war, and the German army was such disarray that they were recruiting young guys, like 14, 15-year-old men, and didn't even have uniforms to give them. And they would just give them these big trench coats, and they would fill their pockets, these big pockets on the sides of the trench coats, they would just give them raw, dried barley seed. And they would just fill their pockets with it, and they would send them out into battle. And sitting in the trenches, if you had water and a pot and you could boil it, you'd put that barley in it, you'd mush it up, you'd create a mush, and you'd eat that. And that was your ration, and that was how you survived. And there was a high instance of mass graves, soldiers who just had this raw barley in their pockets after battle, fields, hills of dead bodies, and they wouldn't even put them in coffins or tie them up or strip them down. They would just throw them in these mass graves and then cover them up with shallow dirt. And as the seasons pass, the barley that was buried with them, you could see barley growing up out of these graves. And there was this testimony years after the war, you could look out on old battlefields and still see these like pockets of barley growing in different spaces. So I had this idea of taking those two stories and putting them together through the perspective of a letter home. And then the chorus is just, it's not a chorus, it's a prayer, it's a hum, it's a lipped, sealed, eyes closed prayer. It's a vigil. It's a song for a vigil. That was it. That was basically, that's what I wanted the song to be. I didn't want it to be anything else. I had this vision of just hundreds of voices recorded and this like loud, almost gospel-y kind of experience. And I think functionality and capacity within the studio that we were working in and the apartment in Crown Heights just didn't really provide for that kind of orchestral thing. And ultimately, we didn't end up doing that. And so we decided to just keep the recording tight and solemn. You know, obviously, there's some overdubbing of me and some multiple voices. It's not the big idea that I had. It ended up being very, very small kind of single voice song. I think serves the record really nicely, serves the song, but my dream of dreams is to have this song and be able to play it and re-record it live with an audience that gets it. And then this song can kind of live up to what its destiny was. What would have been his nourishment instead became his grave marker and his tombstone. And everything about this felt humbling. And so I put in the song. The recording process for this was really cool, and I intentionally wanted it to sound rough. I wanted my voice to sound rough. I remember wanting to be a little bit hoarse when I recorded it, and I did not want to do overdub, not want to make it perfect. I love that it's a little bit sharp and flat. The woes are mournful and prayerful and feel, when you listen to them, like something's not quite exactly aligned. And I think that that's a mirror of the feeling that you have when you lose someone. And then it's just woes. Sitting in my apartment in Brooklyn, it was this song that I said to myself, you gotta record this. And then when I put everything in motion and I connected with Quinn, producer in Crown Heights, and it was like getting things together. He invited me over to his place, which is his studio, and there I brought my acoustic. I was really impressed. He's an incredible musician himself, so like sometimes he sat behind the drum kit as I played, and he sat at his keyboard, and sometimes he picked up an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar. Oftentimes he would sit behind his piano. And for this song, he just sat on his couch, and I played it, and it ended, last note rang out, and the room was silent. He was looking down the whole time. It was the first time I'd ever played the song for anyone. And I certainly didn't make it the first song, because I wasn't sure, and I had other songs that I felt like were more ready for a producer and studio treatment. And that last note just rang out. He looked up at me, his head up, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, we have to make a record. We have to record that song." I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. So we made a record. Letter home, Papa, this could be my last summer, but you mustn't feel it's the greatest of adventures. We can't fault him what he didn't know. No. Yeah.